Well, good morning, handyman folks. So you may have a Miele dryer, electric, model T8005 like this one, and maybe it's taking too long to dry. In this case, same here. I went ahead and taken off the outer covers, and I'll show you a few things I checked. To start with, this back panel, you can take this panel off. There's just a few screws. Obviously, unplug the unit. This is the heater, okay? You can check the heater by the wires that connect to it. You can pop the screws off here and check where these wires connect inside here and make sure you have continuity or low resistance, okay? These are thermal fuses, thermostats, and they have little buttons on them right here. You might be able to see. If they pop, in this case they're black, sometimes they're red, but it's kind of like a circuit breaker. It'll trip and it'll pop up. So if this thing overheats or gets too much current, these guys can pop up. So you might want to check to make sure those are reset and they're not popped up. You also can pop these leads off and check the resistance to make sure you have continuity. If it's open, it needs to be replaced. The way you take these guys apart is first you take the top cover off, which I'll show you. They are not easy. They have these little, this is a top cover, okay? It's got these little plates on the side here that you've got to pop off with like a real fine screwdriver. And then there's a screw inside there, a Torx bit. So there's one there, and there's one on the other side here. And then on the back of it, I'm gonna flip it up this way. On the back of it, there are these guys, okay, that go in here. And then there's some screws that come through the back and go into the back of the unit. Once you take those two screws out, you can slide this thing back and wiggle it back and forth, and you can get it off, okay? Comes off the top. Next, what I did was this front panel, you have to take these plastic covers off, and the way you get those off is just get a thin blade screwdriver and push down, okay, down on this until it clears the opening, and then you can pop it out. Same with this one. When you do, I've got this backwards. They sit in here like this, okay. Once you do pop those out, there's some screws behind here that you take out, and then you can take this cover off. This goes across the bottom. Again, there's some Torx screws in there. You take that off, and then you can get the front. So first you got to take the top off, then you got to take this front control off, okay? And then the front panel you take off. There's some screws, some Torx screws that go in here, and that comes off. And there's some on the bottom. Obviously got to take the toe kick off first, which is I showed you over there. All right, and this front panel, basically you have some screws here. You can see the screw holes, okay? Remove those. You don't have to take the lock assembly out, but I do because there's electrical wires and a cable connected to it, and I didn't want to have to deal with those, so I just unscrewed those as well. All right, and then there's a couple on the bottom. Take those out, and then you can take this front off. All right, once the front's off, then you can take the sides off. There are some screws. I'll show you where this guy goes. There's some screws on the back. See how those line up there? There's a plastic cover on this part right here that unscrews. That's like this. This unscrews. And you see this is inside there like that. All right. You take those off. Once you do that, there's some screws here as well on the top and on this front. You take those out, you can take the side panel off, and you can take the other side panel off. You notice they have a output on this side, on the back, and on this side. So you can pick which one. Obviously your dryer has one of them used. The other ones are plugged off like this. All right. Okay, so like I said, this one was taking a long time to dry. Since we know our heater is good and our thermistors are good, what I'm going to do, I did check, and I wasn't getting power to the heater. Power comes through, there's some relays here, okay, and there's this main control board. So my suspect at this point is the main control board and or the relays. This guy is pretty interesting little, it's the anti-static assembly. These are like carbon brushes that are connected to the system here. And it's an anti-static, but also detects the moisture. Another thing to notice is you got some rollers on the front here that support the drum. And then in here, you've got your main motor, your drum belt, and then a motor drive belt here as well. Start capacitor for the motor. Okay, so what I've done is I just cleaned this up so far, and I'm gonna take this front cover off because I need to change this drum belt. Okay, so back to this heater briefly. This is a thermistor, just so you know. I took the screws out, and this just lifts up off. I'm gonna flip it around so you can see it. So you got your two temperature sensors here and your thermistor, which converts heat into resistance. That's a transducer, and so it sends a signal back to the main control board that tells it how hot it is. These are the coils down inside there. You can look this way as well, and you just check to make sure that nothing is open. Okay, so to measure the heater, and this heater, by the way, has a low and a high. You can notice there's 3 wires going in. There's a red, black, and a white. So at the top, you can see one connector where the red wire is connected to part of the coil. And then on the inside, you can see this bottom one closest to us. That is the, I believe that's the, I'm not sure if that's the black or the white, but then if you look down in there further, you can see another wire. I'm not sure if I can get that, but there's another lead coming out of the side there, and there's a wire coming off of it. So you're going to want to measure between this lead and the one in the middle there. That's going to probably be, mine's like 11 ohms or something. And then you're also going to want to measure from this side all the way over to this side where the red is, and that's going to be probably 20 ohms or something like that. So as long as your coils are both good, if one of them is open, then you need to replace your heater, or if they're both open, you need to replace your heater. Okay, this thermistor, by the way, I measured it, and there's 2 connectors on the back. I unplugged the little wire connector, and there you can see the 2 silver pieces. That's the leads. You measure that, and this guy at about 77 degrees Fahrenheit should be about 100 k ohms of resistance. Mine's off a little bit. Mine's about 80 k ohms at that temperature, so I may have to replace that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take the front cover off so I can change the belt. I have to take this metal plate off too. some little hooks on this guy. Gotta unhook them. There we go. All right. There's another screw deep inside there. There it is, T25. All right. Oh, there's another one. Another one down here. Down in the corner. Big old guy. Nice. That should do it. Should do it. Now watch these wires. Okay, the front cover is loose. Now, we're gonna look at this belt motor, and the way this guy works is, this is on a spring. So I can push this up and relieve tension on the belt. I'll pop it off and slide the belt off the front, put the new one on, and put it back on. Slip it over this moisture sensor. Take this belt off. And get the new one. Belt. Stretch it out real good. You gotta be careful because there's a lot of sharp metal. I have to say that the Miele stuff is better than a lot of the other products because those are made with real thin sheet metal. This stuff is a little bit better than that, so that's good. Back on here. Make sure your multi-V belt is in the pulley grooves properly, and there's nothing binding up. Good. I'm just sliding the belt around to get it on the spot where it normally is. So there we go. That should do it right there. You can see we're good there. All the way around. Now I got to put the front back on. All right, see if I can get it back together. There are some pins on this plastic housing. They're locator pins that go in these holes. And look at that. You clean this off. Some dust on here. That goes between this housing and this inner part where the blower wheel is. Some of that dust out of there. does have a couple of slots in it. You can see a couple of slots here. This inner one is to slide on the housing on the inner part, so put that on there. There we go. I don't know if you can see that. Dust in here. Probably have to vacuum that out. Okay. So we can get this line back up. It'll lift up on the drum because the rollers don't want to go under the lip. So if I lift up on the drum, yeah, fun. It's built with tighter specs, so that's good, but it makes it challenging to get back together. What am I doing wrong? Left side mostly on. I just gotta get this right side. Push up on that. There we go. I'm gonna spin the drum a little bit while I'm putting it in. That helps. All right, I think we got it. I'll put this big one in first. Maybe. No, I'm going to put these smaller ones in first. It'll help locate it better. Get positioned. I'm not tightening these up yet. I want to get them all in first, make sure everything's lined up properly and the drum spins okay, and then I can tighten them down. See if I get this one. That one's tight. That one's tight. And get these four Tighten back up. Okay, gonna make sure the drum spins okay, but first I want to make sure I don't have anything binding up. I want to put this front plate kind of on in position. Just sitting there. Make sure no cables are being pinched. Gotta put things back where they go. All right, I'm going to spin this drum. All right, good. Spins nice. Nothing's binding. So that's good. I think I'm going to vacuum this out and we'll put some things back together. Okay, I put the front back together and everything spins nice and smooth. Got this front plate back on. One other thing I did was there's a temperature sensor on the front here that just goes right in here. It's in a rubber housing. It pops out. You just use a flathead screwdriver and just kind of pop it out. I had to unplug the connector. This thermistor you need to check as well, and it's supposed to be about 13,000 ohms at about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, and mine is about 11,000 ohms, but I'm a little warmer than 70 degrees. I think I'm about, let's see what we got here. Yeah, 76 degrees. There we go. So that's about accurate for this one. All right, to put this back in, it's a little easier to put the rubber boot in first because it's got two little tabs on it that you kind of snap in place first, and then you can slide this in. So let's try that. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Let's see here. There we go. I just got to position it the right way. There we go. Got it in. Okay. All right, before I put this back together, I am changing out this thermistor on the heater bank because it's out of spec. So I've got a new one here. I'm measuring about 80,000 ohms, okay? And my temperature is about 80 degrees. All right, let's go back and compare this one. Okay, and this one's about 88K, about the same temperature. So the old and the new aren't too far out of spec, but one thing I did notice is on the old one, it had a broken connector here with this. You can see on the new one, it's got like this little keeper. It's spring loaded plastic that when you plug this in, it clicks in and holds it. And since the old one's broken, that means it's going to be not a good tight connection. So we're changing it because this was a little out of spec. That one's not too much different, but this keeper is going to be helping. So okay, I'm going to put this side cover back on. First I had to put this little plastic connector back here that goes in between the inner part and this side cover. Gotta make sure these get behind the little tabs. Here we go. All right. There. And then this, since it vents out the back, I'm going to put the cap on this guy. Screws on. There we go. I can put the screws on here. Okay, you got some of these with the little washers on them, and those are going to go on the top and the front. And then there's a couple that are without washers, like that are going to go on the back. You got two on the top even though there's 3 holes. Well, this drill battery's going. Luckily I got another one. Let's start with. Then I get my drill. Again, these ones are with the little nylon washers on them. And these ones are just the regular. Hole in the middle, but we don't have a screw there. All right, I'm going to put the front back on. First thing I got to do is get this lock assembly, door lock, in place. There's like a little plastic locator on the back. I'm going to get that up in there. All right. And now I can put the front on. There's a hole in the top and the center and a plastic locator up here. So I'm going to slide this up like this and then open the door. And I want to get, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 long screws like this. And then I have 2 for the lock, which are also long. Let's see if I can get those at least started. Should be able to get these in place. A little tricky. If you have a helper at this point, that'd be good. Hold the front panel up. If I can get a few of these in. Tighten them all the way just yet. All right, now I can take these guys. I got a couple on the bottom here. Should be these. With the little nylon washer on them. Now I can put the toe kick on. Make sure the door closes. Yep. Make sure it pops open. There we go. Yep. Okay, good. All right, now I'm going to put the toe kick back on. There's 2 screws in the little dimple holes here. Well, I'm gonna have to take these side panel screws off again because that's what these are. I accidentally put those on. That's better. Let me tip this back a little bit. There we go. Good. I got all my screws in there. I'm gonna put this guy on. Okay, now, so this plastic frame is in. I just gotta put this guy back. And there are plastic tabs when you snap it in. One screw here. Gotta love that. Magnetic bits are great until they fall out. All right, this one. Okay, now the fun part. So I was showing you about these guys, these little, the way they go is the bottom tab just goes right in the slot, and then you press it in. There you go. Same here. Line up the buttons and then press it down, and the top maybe, come on, gotta get this corner in, there we go. And you just press it down and let this snap in. All right, make sure the buttons are working. Door. Okay. And I got these little caps for the toe kick. There. They do like to cover things, you know, cover up their screws and make them look nice. That's good. Next, I'll put the top on, but I'm not going to put the top on yet because I'm going to put the dryer in place and test it.